Okay, welcome. It's actually been a couple of days since I've done this, so I'm excited to get back to it. It's Extreme Warfare Revenge episode, or I'm not sure, something like 22. Correct me if I'm wrong. And we have just had, well, the last event was last night on the game, and it was Super Brawl Revenge 2001. And it was a fantastic show. I think we got 78% for it. It was a really stacked card. Scott Steiner retained his world title against Sting. Jeff Jarrett retained the US title over Dustin Rhodes. The tag titles were retained by Palumbo and O'Hare. Billy Kidman remained Cruiserweight champion. Crowbar is the new hardcore champion. And Rey Mysterio has retained his TV title. So this is the aftermath. And all the guys that fought last night, none of them are fighting tonight. Well, two of them are actually. Booker T's long feud over Kanyon. He beat him last night. And this is a real feud ender tonight. And it's a cage match on Nitro. And it's finally going to end the feud. Booker T is going to win cleanly over Chris Kanyon again. And hopefully that will really do both guys' careers a lot of good. So that's the main event tonight. We've just got a fun cruiserweight match to kick things off. Four guys who haven't featured much. Chris Candido is going to be Air Paris, Jamie Noble and Kid Romeo in a four-way. Interview with Rick Steiner. He's currently feuding with Dustin Rhodes. Dustin Rhodes faced Jeff Jarrett last night at Super Brawl Revenge. And Rick Steiner ran in and he cost Dustin Rhodes from winning. He helped Jarrett to win, so he's basically coming out here saying, you know, before you start thinking about the US title, you've got to get through me first. And that's going to continue things with those two. That's fitting quite nicely. We've got Evan Courageous and Shannon Moore beating the Harris boys in a tag match. Then we've got an interview with Chavo Guerrero. He is in a feud with Billy Kidman, which is still going. Kidman he retained the Cruiserweight title at Super Bowl cleanly in a four-way match against Chavo, Guerrero, AJ Styles, and was it Shane Helms? Or I think it was... Can't actually remember who it was. But there were four guys in the match, and they were the right four, and it was a good match. Just a random match that will hopefully do Alex Wright some good. He's going to beat Terry Funk cleanly. The Insiders, Kevin Nash, DDP, their long-running feud with Lex Luger and Buff Bagwell. They won again last night, and this is them coming out taunting them, saying they're not in their league. Chronic are going to beat General Rection and Sergeant AWOL. Interview with Sting. He lost in his first match against Steiner last night. They've just started a feud. The fans are absolutely loving it. Steiner didn't win cleanly, so Sting, you know, he's saying that he's not going to go away, basically. Penultimate match, Norman Smiley's going to beat Mike Sanders. Mike Sanders requested a few matches with Norman Smiley, so here's one of them. And Scott Steiner requested a match with Kevin Nash. So Kevin Nash is still a big name, and I know he's feuding with Totally Buff, but he can still have a title shot. He's going to call out Scott Steiner. He's going to say he's wasting his time feuding with Totally Buff. He wants a world title shot. He knows he can beat Steiner, and Steiner's going to accept and say, okay, we'll do it on Thunder. But of course, Nash is not going to win. Steiner is going to retain his title. Main event, I've already gone through. Booker T is going to beat Chris Kanyon. So let's see how this goes. Decent opener. Crowd reaction wasn't great. Didn't expect it to be, because these are four guys who aren't very over with the fans at all. Rick Steiner backstage. I expected a little bit higher for that segment. 3-count Harris boys. Again, it's not a match that's going to get the crowd on the feet, but I'm making sure I'm using my roster. I'm paying them, so I want to see what they can do. And if they continually underperform, or the fans just aren't buying into them, then they'll just be released when their contract is up. Chavo Guerrero, I think the fans are probably a bit tired of that feud as well. There's a few that are about to come to a head. very soon. Alex Wright, Terry Funk. Terry Funk lost overness. That's okay. He's in his 50s. I don't have much of a role for him at the moment. Inside Outsiders backstage. Kevin Nash on the mic always goes down well. Chronic and Misfits in Action, that got not a bad score. And look at that, Sting, totally elevated for show's ratings to the 90s. Because it's actually been quite a poor show so far. If it hadn't been for Sting, that's a good. Actually, I think that's the second best score. Norman Smiley gained overness from this match, 75%, and we've got Nash's challenge next. Scott Steiner lost overness from that segment. That's not good for the world champion. I guess the fans might think it's a bit random if Nash is totally feuding with Totally Buff, but I thought it was worth a risk. And Booker T Kanyon, big finale. This should get a really good score, and it does, 86%. Chris Kanyon gained overness from the feud ending, even though he was the loser. So that has really done his career a lot good. 67%, not for worst show, but not for nowhere near for best. Quite an average show overall, with the two standouts. Evidently being the interview of Sting and Booker T beating Chris Kanyon. Now, what's this incident? Right, okay, that changes things. Lex Luger has been forced to check into rehab because of personal problems. No, that's a bit harsh. Okay, let's say okay. Let's see where we're up to with this feud, actually. Totally Buff would lose popularity. I guess we could have a few singles matches with Buff, and maybe Buff Bagwell could face DDP at the next show. Yeah. How's Dustin Rhodes, Rick Steiner? Let's keep developing. Giving him would give a huge lift, but then Billy Kidman. I mean, look at that. That's ready to be ended soon. But if I end a feud too early, you see, it's going to do both guys. It's not going to do anyone any good. Let's just have a quick look at the email to see. 5.43, not a bad score. Cheers, Booker T, sucker. He thought it went very well. Yep, so did I. They work together as a team, that's fine. And they work as a team. Okay, that's fine. Let's see. Booker T was 92 overness. Wow. 100 from a feud with Chris Kanyon. What's Chris Kanyon up to now? 83. And he was 78 when I first took over in January. So Booker T, yeah, really pleased with that. It's very difficult finding feuds when you've only got a few main eventers, something that doesn't dent the popularity. So I'll have a think of what to do with Booker T next. We've got Sid Vicious, who's just turned heel, but the fans have just started to resent him. He's on 78. I'll have a think of that. I will write out a copy of. I'll plan what's going to happen on Thursday Thunder, but it'll be a good show. We know that Scott Steiner is going to defend his title against Kevin Nash. Maybe DDP and Buff Bagwell will get at it as well. So that's already two really good matches to look forward to. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time for Thursday Thunder.